All right, everybody. Hello. We're back again. It's like we're never leaving, even though we said we were. We both saw Apocalypse last night. We wanted to talk about it. So, Mike, start us off.
All right. This is the ninth film in the X-Men franchise, if you want to count the spin-offs.
I think so.
Okay, so since the dawn of civilization, he was worshipped as a god. Apocalypse, the first and most powerful mutant, amassed the powers of many other mutants, becoming immortal and invincible. Upon awakening after thousands of years, he is disillusioned with the world as he finds it and recruits a team of powerful mutants, including a disheartened Magneto, to cleanse mankind and create a new world order over which he will reign. As the fate of the Earth hangs in the balance, Raven, with the help of Professor X, must lead a team of young X-Men to stop their greatest nemesis and save mankind from complete destruction. Now, before we get into our own opinions, boy, this movie is not doing well with the critics.
No,
and I really don't get why.
It doesn't. I understand a lot more why BVS had trouble with critics. This is... I don't get it. I don't.
I mean, I'm not gonna act like this movie's perfect. Like compared to Days of Future Past, it is a bit of a step down for me personally. But if you're like a diehard X-Men fan, this is up there with one of the greats.
They're acting like, I'm seeing critics acting like, in people online, because they saw a critic score acting like this is the definite franchise killer. This thing's gonna stop it all, even though they've got 3 sequels planned and they're shooting them already and whatever. This is gonna kill it all. This movie's so bad because this one critic said it was horrible.
Oh,
Can we stop? Because a movie has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, that means everyone on the planet has to hate it. It has to be the worst possible movie ever made. You cannot have an opinion otherwise. Guess what? Your brain can work independently from the total amount some made on Rotten Tomatoes. I know, I'm blowing your collective minds right now, but it can work differently. I'm not saying this movie's perfect. I'm not. Were there things that could have been done differently? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not like... You're acting like this is Steel. Do people remember that movie? With Shaquille O'Neal and the tin can? Yeah. That was a bad movie that is franchise ending. This is not.
Fantastic Four from last year. That was franchise ending. Actually, that was like franchise stillborning.
Let's not talk about that movie.
Onto more positive stuff. Where to even start? By the way, guys, this review is full spoilers. We will be basically covering everything.
Yeah, there's not going to be anything that we leave out. We're going to be talking about everything from the beginning to the end credit scene that I had to look up to make sure that I knew what it was talking about.
You know what? You want to start backwards and talk about the post credit scene?
Yeah.
Because this is good news for everyone who's a Mr. Sinister fan.
Yeah. Now, I know this is going to make a lot of fans of the natural way that we get Mr. Sinister in most instances pissed. Because normally, Apocalypse has a hand in coming up with Mr. Sinister. Apocalypse got hard-boiled at the end of that movie. Big time.
Oh, yeah.
But, oh my gosh. I can't... Mr. Sinister is going to be in a movie.
I know. We're 9 movies in, and we're finally getting Mr. Sinister.
Well, I wouldn't say finally, because we just had Apocalypse.
True.
And normally, it's hard to work down.
But if they can pull it off, I will be impressed.
I'll be impressed too. And I'm one person that is okay with diminishing with the law of diminishing returns. In a way, you can go from the world ended to a story about saving a small compound. I could be okay with that. What I would like for Sinister is for him to be a shadow person for the entire next trilogy. Be an event planner and then be the big bad for the third one. Because they really haven't had a person stay for a trilogy as a villain collectively and be the main guy, except for McKellen as Magneto a little bit. Because he was the villain in the first one, he helped them in the second one, and then he was almost a lackey to Phoenix in the third one.
Yeah.
So they kind of alternated. I would love for one guy to be the whole way through. So.
Yeah, I agree. Now, getting back to more of the meat of this movie, let's talk about Apocalypse.
It's good.
Okay, for those who don't know, one of my favorite films of all time is The Prince of Egypt. So that's kind of where my love of ancient Egyptian culture kind of comes from. So the entire beginning of this movie, where they're setting up En-Sabanur, I ate that stuff up.
Oh yeah. One thing I have to get out of the way right away, because this bugs me to no end, and I mean no end. People were complaining.
Oh, here we go.
Apocalypse doesn't look like comics.
Oh, here we go.
I'm not going to argue with you that a chunk of what he doesn't look like looks like comics. But then, whenever they get prodded to go, guess what? The character could still be good and not look like he did in comics. And then they'll go, well, guess what? He's Egyptian. So he's supposed to look like he does in comics, not how he does in this movie. I'm going to break some reality to you right now that everyone who's a comic book reader that's ever seen Apocalypse in a comic book knows, but won't admit if you're making this argument. In this movie, he looked like an ancient Egyptian.
He did?
In comics, he looks like an alien version of Bane.
Yeah, you're right.
There's nothing Egyptian about him. He looks like an alien from another planet's version of a luchador. Stop saying he doesn't look Egyptian like he does in comics, because he looks like a steroid freak in comics. He looked actually Egyptian in this movie. And the Ivan Ooze crap, because he has a blue face. Go home and do not talk to anyone else in your life, because you only regurgitate stupid crap you hear on the internet.
It's true.
Okay, done with that. But about Apocalypse, he was very exact in the way he always said things. He never wavered for how his speaking patterns were, which I appreciated. He
I like how they kind of modulated his voice.
Yeah. Oscar,
how should I explain this? It's not like it was one consistent voice the whole time. It's like whenever he says something that has like more of a menace to it, that's when the voice starts to change.
Yeah. His pattern of speaking, his voice of speaking, his mannerisms, everything was just awesome. And it made him more of a cool person to me that he actually had some characteristic to him other than some hulking brute like he normally is. And just him pimping out all these people, modifying their powers and stuff like that, because Apocalypse is a person who's kind of hard to define, and all the people that want to say that he didn't have defined powers in the movie, he doesn't have defined powers in comics all that much sometimes either. So that wasn't any stretch from the imagination. The whole ceremony of him coming back, or I mean, like his ascension, that was awesome.
Hold on, I want to bring up something that Mark Ellis talked about in his spoiler review.
Mhm.
You can blame the entirety of this movie on Rose Byrne, who just so happened to be snooping around in discovering Apocalypse.
That's funny. That's awesome. I never thought about that. It's completely her fault. That's awesome. I never thought about that. That's great.
That's neither a positive nor a negative. I just found it hilarious, like in hindsight.
The person whose memory they erased to not mess with mutants wakes up the first mutant.
Oh, and then Campia came up with Moira the Explorer.
Moira the Explorer. Good God!
I swear you're gonna keep seeing. You're probably gonna see those memes everywhere.
Oh
In the
yeah,
next couple weeks.
I don't doubt that in the slightest.
That being said, her performance was actually really good, and I liked the scenes that she and McAvoy had together.
Yeah, it was great to see her in an X-Men movie again. I understand why she wasn't in
Days of Future Past
because they didn't need her to be. But yeah, all right. It's normally I would say we should talk more about the villain, but there are so many freaking characters in this movie that we should start giving time to others,
like Magneto, and how and how his story arc kind of comes full circle from when he was younger and his parent. Man, it must really suck to be Magneto, because first he loses his parents in the concentration camp. Then, all the crap happens when he met Professor X, and then the assassination of Kennedy, the events of '73. Yeah, he's not had a good life.
No,
and then to make things worse, he finally settles down and has a family. And yeah, that goes about as well as you think it would.
Yeah. When that whole moment happened and stuff started going weird, I was like, is that girl's hair gonna turn green, or is she gonna start doing things? And I'm like, there's no way they're actually gonna have that little girl be Polaris. And then she was doing something that was attracting birds. I'm like, I don't know if magnetic fields are making the birds messed up and they're attacking them or what. And then Robin Hood Men and Idiots shot them. And the guy who I watched the movie with, he hadn't said much during the entire movie. That entire time he just went, no. Well, now I know why Magneto goes on a killing spree.
Yeah, the second you harm Magneto's family, you're dead.
You're dead. And one more thing before Apocalypse, before we end completely talking about him. There was no mind control. I was so happy.
Thank you.
I was so happy. He convinced them to do what he wanted. I was so happy. But other characters, that scene at Auschwitz was awesome.
It was.
Other characters, hey, Mike, remember when Jubilee showed up in X-Men 2?
Who?
Showed up for about 20 seconds. Hey, Mike, you remember when they didn't make a casting decision about her showing up in X-Men 2?
Mm-hmm.
They just had her in the movie?
Yep.
You remember when last year they actually made a casting decision about Jubilee being in this movie? And she had roughly 10 seconds more of screen time than she did next to?
Yep.
Why did you make a casting decision about Jubilee being in this movie just to show her sitting in a glass room?
I mean, yeah, she did go to the mall with the other guys, but
oh yay, we got to see her walking out of Return of the Jedi. Also, the jab. Oh, and everybody knows the third movie always sucks. That was so hard directed at Brett Ratner.
Everyone in my theater laughed at that line. That was probably the hardest laugh that my audience gave.
That was amazing. I had to slightly explain it to the guy who was seeing it with me. He's like, "Oh yeah, Brian didn't do that third X-Men movie. Yeah, that one wasn't good." One other thing that got shown in this movie had less setup and was done better than in Ratner's ending of a trilogy was Phoenix.
Oh, hell yes.
I screamed bloody murder. I saw Jean walking out. I started badgering the crap out of my buddy beside me. I'm like, if red flames start bursting out of her, I'm going to scream like a little schoolgirl. And a winged, slightly malleable creature forms behind Jean, and she just goes nuts like, ah! I got so happy. And there's a rumor going around that they might do the Dark Phoenix saga in the next X-Men movies. Oh, please. Please, if you're going to handle it like you handled it in this movie, go.
It might be too soon, though, for it to be the very next one.
Not the very next one, but you can set up that she had an outburst in the next movie, an outburst in the third movie, and then the next one. Not just make it, oh, we showed a bird in the water at the end of X2, and then magically she's got split personalities and one goes bad. Yes, I'm looking at you, Brett Ratner. But that was Sophie Turner, right?
Yep.
She was so good as Jean. So good.
All of the newbies were good.
Yeah. You in one movie redeemed Scott Summers. In my opinion. It took some, he's not like my favorite character, but you got Scott Summers in a movie where I didn't want to punch him in the face in almost every scene he was in.
No, I actually felt kind of sorry for him at first. You see his introduction. He's in class. His eye, like, you can tell something's up with his eyes. And then, being a teenager, he's bound to pick a fight with someone.
Yeah. Also, everyone, 1 second, Mike. Everyone, look up Cyclops' eyes. You want some real deep nerd culture? Go look up what actually happens when Cyclops shoots lasers out of his eyes. It's not lasers, it's energy from another planet that his eyes are portals to. Go look it up.
Comics are weird.
Comic books are weird.
And anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Scott Summers had a great introduction in this film.
When he splits that tree in half.
It was my favorite tree.
My grandparents, I climbed in that tree. Oh, it was great. But yeah, him, and just like how they were so, it's one of those things in movies where they treat you and they do what the audience thinks you should do. Like the first time Hank brings out those sunglasses, he's like, all right, you're in the clear. And he's like, these are going to work no matter what. You're in the clear. Then he sees the kids are slightly his light hat. Hold on. All right, now try it. He was still like, all right, it might vaporize those kids if these glasses don't work. What else? The kid that played Nightcrawler was awesome.
Oh yeah, Cody Schmidt-McGee.
Schmidt-McGee.
Or McPhee or whatever.
Or McPhee. Whatever. He was very good. And the only character other than Jubilee just not being in this movie that kind of was a letdown to me was Angel.
Yeah, although as a Metallica fan, I liked his introduction.
How were they not gonna put the Four Horsemen from Metallica in there? Like,
yeah, if you didn't, I actually wrote this in my review. If you didn't include the Four Horsemen in a movie about the apocalypse set in the 80s, it is a serious missed opportunity.
I was waiting for some guy that looked exactly like James Hetfield to just be in that movie somehow. One thing this movie did, before we go on to talk about other characters, those trailers early on, one of them seriously pissed me off, and I think it was the second one.
Oh, wait, I think I know what you're talking about.
They showed nukes launching in the trailer. And I'm like, gosh dang it. Every time there's an apocalypse scenario, it's always, I'm going to use nukes to blow up the entire planet because it's so easy and it's done 5,000 times. This movie didn't do that. This movie shot the nukes into space so that we couldn't use them. And the villain knew he could destroy the planet without them.
That is actually a genius, like a brilliant flip on that.
Yes.
On that trope.
Yes, I was so upset. I'm like, just please, no. And then also, with my fear of that, I thought that was going to be his end of days plan, and there was be no way they could stop that. And he launched those nukes off like a third of the way into the movie. I'm like, what time is it? There's no way that's going to be. Oh, he's not using them. Oh, okay, yeah.
But of course he doesn't need him. He can turn people into dust.
Yeah, he can do just about anything. He can, and to anyone, barely even people who he can't see, like Quicksilver, who again, every second of screen time is on.
Twice he had those moments.
When Sweet Dreams started playing, I'm like, they're gonna do another slow-mo scene. I just know it. And that moment, the second room that he goes in, he doesn't walk in. He turns around and moonwalks in, moves that guy out of the way, and just
so good.
Yes. Who else do you want to talk about or give big moments to?
Okay, let's rip off the Band-Aid. Wolverine.
He was in this movie as much as I wanted him to be.
My favorite part is, like, it's obvious that scene came from the reshoots, but it didn't feel like I actually purposely tried looking for the scenes, like, but I couldn't. It was seamless.
Yep. And I love how they almost to a T, except for the larger part of the dome on the helmet, took that look of the comic book look of when he first escapes Weapon X with that big freaking helmet and eye and all the tubes in him. Go look it up. It's pretty close. He's got a larger helmet on his head, but
as an admittedly blatant trailer for the Wolverine film coming next year, it was satisfying. Like, you get to see the PG-13 version of, like, Berserker Wolverine, and it was pretty great.
Yeah, that was nuts.
But in hindsight, I really wish they didn't spoil it in the trailer.
They didn't need to.
Yeah, they didn't at all.
People were going to go see this movie. But, yeah, I don't know. Mystique had a very good role in this movie, and they made a point. People, again, railed on Jennifer Lawrence right away when they saw all of these trailers. They're like, she just doesn't want to put on makeup. That's why in all these scenes she looks like herself and not like Mystique. I'm not going to see if there's a plot point that shows her being more like herself and not Mystique. I'm just going to complain right away. They made a point for her to be looking more like her human self than normal. And I appreciated that. And they said it blatantly.
That being said, I will admit there are some line deliveries that did kind of come off as a little flat. I mean,
they're warplane. Now we got war suits.
I mean, they come off much worse in the trailers, but still, it's like you could have put a little more oomph into those lines.
Yeah, for sure. But as I was gonna say, she had a great moments throughout all of this. Her being a person that brought hope to them when she stood up and didn't do what she was gonna do at the gathering. That one of the last moments in the movie, when you see the moment and the kind of things that everyone wanted to see, where Mystique is in a comic book-esque outfit, just walking around, and I'm like, wow, she's not wearing something plain and black, and that kind of looks like some stuff she would wear. And they start scanning to all these other people, and they actually look like they're in actual comic book costumes. So just, yes. And then Scott turned around, and he had the freaking visor on. Oh,
that's twice now that an X-Men movie had like a very satisfying conclusion. Because you guys all remember in Days of Future Past where it's Wolverine back in like the future. He's back in like the future or present timeline, and he sees all of his friends and students, and everything is hunky dory. That was a great ending, and we got this one where we actually get to see everyone in their costumes. Also, I'm not sure if you caught this, but the last exchange that Charles and Eric have is a line taken right from X2.
Yeah. That whole last exchange was just... Every time Magneto and Professor X speak in one of these movies, no matter who's acting, is gold. It never fails. I don't know how they pull it off. No matter what actor's doing it, it just...
Yeah, they just always get the best actors to play these roles.
Yeah. It's it's very, very good acting. What else was I going to say? The visual effects in this movie were awesome. The showing how we gathered everybody up, like I said, not actually using mind control, was a very good way that they did that, because I didn't want this just to be everyone having to snap them out of mind control and then bring them back to who they really are.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't go that way either. I also like how there was a little bit of a religious angle to this too. Like Apocalypse has been pretty much all of these different gods. Meanwhile, that everyone on Earth is worshiping false gods.
Yeah, I had a feeling I was going to get brought in. I didn't know how heavy, but it was done tastefully, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It beat you over the head with it. Which I had a little fear of that happening, but it didn't.
Let's do one more positive and then get into a little bit of negatives. I do have a couple complaints.
Okay. Other big positives. Oh, man. Just, this movie was very comic booky, but not overdone. I don't know how to say that exactly, but I actually had Olivia Munn in the Psylocke costume.
Yeah, for better or worse, that is a pitch perfect translation from the page to the screen.
Yes. And all of these, I understand they get shared around our page a lot, but I do not quite understand them, because it's not true, in my opinion, is all of these, if Fox did a costume, and if Marvel did a costume, and if Marvel did a costume, it looks Hollywood, and if Fox did one, it looks like it's made out of paper mache and cardboard.
I
Do you guys not watch X-Men movies? They may not look like what you want them to, but they're not made of low-quality materials or look shoddy.
yeah.
Because I watch these movies, and with my eyes, I can prove that that's not true.
Yeah, no, they look fine.
Yes. But
But if we are gonna talk about negatives, I guess I will lead off with my one complaint about Apocalypse is it's not the look itself, it's the creation of the look. I personally would have preferred if Oscar Isaac was doing like performance capture, like Andy Serkis, just so he can have the like the size and the stature of Apocalypse. But I had no problem with the costume. Just I just have a personal preference.
I hear you. Complaints. Yeah, some of the line delivery wasn't that great sometimes. Like I said, Angel. And Jubilee, that was another one. It wasn't a complaint. I felt misled.
Yeah, like we do you remember seeing like set photos of Jubilee and the other X-Men like hang out in the mall? Like we saw those set photos, and yet that scene is nowhere to be found except for them walking out of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't get that.
Here's another complaint. Why'd they have to kill off Havoc? I get he kind of went out. He went out like trying to save everyone in the mansion, but like I don't know. You went through the trouble of even including him in this movie, and then you kind of kill him off in kind of a similar fashion as Cyclops did in X3.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Where were we?
You were talking.
I
you were
was
talking about the Fate Max 3.
Yeah. I was talking about Havoc and how, they went through the trouble of even bringing him back into the narrative, and then he just kind of goes out in a similar fashion that Cyclops did in X3, and that wasn't cool.
They should have kept him in the second movie a little bit, and then had him go out instead of just bringing him back for the purpose of only killing him. One complaint that I have. Okay, how they buried Apocalypse was stupidly overcomplicated.
Are you talking about in ancient Egypt?
In ancient Egypt.
Okay, yeah, because that did seem a little silly.
How did no one notice them setting that up? They didn't notice the 16 runways with the giant stone block columns leading to the only support beams underneath this hollowed out bottom of a pyramid. Did they just build those tunnels when no one was looking? What are you venting down there that you need those tunnels. It's just a bottomless pit. Why do you have a drop off? And what is holding that pyramid up if it's a solid drop off underneath it with like 4 support beams?
If you want a simplified version of and Stop a Nerd's Burial, look up on YouTube X-Men Evolution, Apocalypse's origin.
Oh,
that's a lot simpler.
A lot simpler and a lot better done.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here watching. They set this up for years. No one noticed.
And again, Moira comes across as by accident.
Accident. Is this
or just
for sale?
by sheer happenstance.
Yeah, is this rug for sale? Oh, it's an ancient mutant. Oh boy.
So silly.
Yeah. But man, as far as complaints, I really don't. Okay, I have a complaint. And it's kind of about the end credit scene. When they do these end credit scenes, they're doing it obviously a lot for comic book fans.
Okay.
And for people that would know stuff in comics. I get that. I'm a comic book fan. I understand. But they've got to give people that aren't comic book fans sometimes a little bit of leeway.
Yeah, you have to throw a little bit of a bone.
All you did was have guys coming in, scrubbing the blood off the floor. You take Logan's blood and stick it in a briefcase with a company that you hope people know is associated with a character.
I mean, if you know that character really well, then yeah, it means something to you. But if you don't, people are gonna leave the theater scratching their heads.
Yeah, and that's why there's a lot of articles going up going, what exactly happened during the X-Men Apocalypse end credit scene? Don't worry, we'll explain it. This is the first one where I was like, yeah, I don't mind you having that as a headline title. It's clickbaity, but it still actually has a purpose.
Now, if you had to fix that scene, how would you make that more casual moviegoer accessible?
I would have had Sinister there.
Yeah, like
when they shut the briefcase, you see Sinister.
Or maybe you see him like take the case and walk off.
Or all you do is you see a light reflection of that pale white face of his and that diamond on his forehead or something, or like the frills of his cape and something like he has just some identifying feature to where someone could go, oh, that looks like a comic book character. I've seen a cartoon. I might know who that guy is. I knew about Essex Corp, and I had to look that up to make sure I was correct. But it's just me. You could have, like, people did homework when Thanos showed up in Avengers. A lot of people knew who he was. It wasn't as bad as this, but there were people that were in that theater with me that actively watch and look at comics that went, eh?
I mean, yeah.
And, like, if you didn't hear about Guardians coming out, the end of Thor 2 didn't make a whole lot of sense.
So I guess the moral of the story is post-credit scenes are nice, post-credit scenes are awesome, but you gotta throw at least one bone.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Anything else before we wrap things up? I know some people kind of had problems with the climax of the film. They thought it was a little too stationary, you know, with Magneto and Apocalypse just kind of like standing there with all this dust flying around, where the actual battle was literally internal. Like it was just like a struggle between Professor X and Apocalypse inside their head. I understand where people are coming from with that complaint, but I'll be honest, I was so wrapped up in the emotions of these characters that like that didn't faze me.
Yeah,
I wasn't really expecting the big like a big showdown as there was in the comics.
Yeah. There was no situation, and I saw this for how they showed how OP he was compared to everyone else, to where someone was going to physically fight him. So everyone banding together with Jean making the final push to psychically and power-wise overload him made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Could it have been handled a little differently?
Sure.
That I can see people complaining about, but
I don't see anything wrong with the way that climax was set up.
Yeah, I don't either. But any final comments?
Go see this movie. It's really good. I don't think you need to see it in 3D per se, but
I will tell you. Go ahead.
See it on the biggest screen that you can.
This movie, in my opinion, of a superhero film, other than when that Leviathan worm creature comes down over the screen out through at the Avengers in Avengers 1, has the best 3D moment in a comic book movie ever. The opening credits.
Okay, yes.
When they're cycling through those tunnels, going through events in time, and crap is flying past your face. That was nuts.
Was that the only one who was reminded of the 90s Johnny Quest intro?
You're not wrong. I just thought of that now. You're so not wrong.
I don't know why, but that was just in the back of my head during that scene.
Yeah, it's going to be now when I watch it again, which will be probably this weekend, if not next weekend. But all right, everyone. I enjoyed this movie. Mike enjoyed this movie. We'll openly admit it's not perfect, but it's not horrible.
No, not by a country mile. It is a great film. Where would you rank it in the franchise?
My favorite is probably X-Men: Days of Future Past. Probably X1, this, then X2.
For me, it goes Days of Future Past, First Class, X2 was number 3, but that's pushed down, and Apocalypse has taken its place. So it's of the new trilogy, it's the weakest, but the trilogy is my top 3 so far.
Yeah, the trilogy was really good. When you're the weakest of those 3 movies, that's not a stab.
Not at all.
No, but all right, everyone. Again, thank you for watching. I don't know when our next review is going to be.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I know next week I'm seeing Turtles 2, but
I'll be probably doing the same thing. If we're up for it, we could possibly do that. So,
but stay tuned as we have more content coming.
Definitely. I'm Brock Emmerich. You can find me at WayneTech7 on Twitter, Organoid0 on YouTube, and at geeksandgamers.com. I'm an admin. Mike, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at Captain K482 on Twitter, and look for me in the Geeks and Gamers and Sons and Daughters of Movie Talk Facebook groups. Don't forget to sign up for the Geeks and Gamers website, geeksgamers.com. Sign up for the Geek Boards. You got Geek Points, raffles, all a bunch of good stuff. And lastly, subscribe to Geeks and Gamers YouTube channel. You have returning in fall 2016, the Arrowverse After Show.
That's so weird to say.
I know, right? We Are Geek, Ask an Admin, and various reviews and vlogs and stuff.
Yes. Sign up and look, stuff is coming. Don't worry. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time.